Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. Due to the increasingly delicate relationship between China and the United States, and in recent years, the United States has imposed a series of blockades and sanctions on Chinese technology companies. Out of multiple considerations, China decided to reduce its holdings of U.S. debt. At present, China has dropped to $859.4 billion from $1 trillion 2 years ago. Moreover, China's selling of U.S. debt has not stopped. China's goal this year is to reduce its holdings of U.S. debt to $580 billion. This is an important step. This move shows that China will no longer be like helping the United States, as it did in the past. In January of this year, China's holdings of U.S. debt fell to more than $800 billion. The reason why China chose to sell U.S. debt at this time is also to seek a balance in future international relations. The reduction can effectively relieve the pressure on China's foreign exchange reserves. China's selling of U.S. bonds for 6 consecutive months is in stark contrast to the continuous purchases overseas. However, the U.S. debt cannot be emptied all at once, and the stability and safety of foreign exchange reserves must be maintained. According to relevant data, China's holdings of U.S. debt this year will drop to the lowest point in history before the U.S. economic crisis. With a series of bankruptcies in the United States, the financial crisis is intensifying, and the American economy is in uncontrollable danger. China must seize this opportunity. Accelerate the process of cancellation of using the USD, otherwise it is likely to be involved in this financial turmoil. Looking back on 2008, when the United States encountered a serious economic crisis, China extended a helping hand out of the need for friendly exchanges. So when the United States faced such a crisis again, it pinned its hopes on China. However, this time, they may be disappointed. The United States has to pay for its actions, and China will never let the story of the farmer and the snake repeat itself. In recent years, Sino-US relations have been at a low point, and some conflicts have intensified. The United States has been using various means to suppress Chinese companies, such as sanctions on Huawei and forcing TikTok to sell at low prices. You must know that the United States has been containing China's development for a long time, especially targeting Chinese technology companies frequently, which has caused tension between China and the United States. Therefore, in the face of plundering American robbers, abandoning U.S. debt is the first priority to maintain the safety of the country's financial assets. Moreover, in order to avoid financial risks, China has reduced its holdings of U.S. debt for 6 consecutive months, which is also an important step in China's cancellation of use of the U.S. dollar. But this is not good news for the United States. As China continues to sell U.S. debt, U.S. bond yields will rise, which is a heavy blow to those countries that rely on U.S. treasuries. If this trend continues, the U.S. dollar will continue to depreciate, while the Japanese yen will strengthen accordingly, causing inflation. At that time, the prices of products exported by Japan will rise and the export volume will decline. This will also have a big impact on the world economy. And judging from the Russian incident, holding too many U.S. Treasury bonds is not a good thing. Since the relationship between the United States and Russia has deteriorated, the United States has imposed economic sanctions on Russia, freezing more than $330 billion in funds. Fortunately, Russia was prepared and knew that the US dollar would be threatened, so it cancelled the use of the US dollar early. Therefore, when the US imposed sanctions, Russia was not seriously affected, and their US dollar assets have been greatly reduced. If Russia hadn't taken precautions to cancel the use of the US dollar, then Russia's economy would have been greatly impacted. Therefore, China must sell the US debt when the US raises interest rates, otherwise, it will have to renege when the US can't pay it back. Besides, it is not a bad debt. The United States has no money to repay it. There is no difference between being in debt and defaulting on a debt. It is definitely a wise choice for China to be ready to cancel the use of the US dollar. China refuses to rescue the United States and continues to reduce the amount of US debt it holds. This is also to tell the United States that without the United States, China still plays an important role in the world economy. The US takes advantage of the dollar hegemony of financial capital to impose bottomless sanctions on sovereign countries, and all countries in the world dare not speak out. During the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Americans frantically plundered Russia's financial and economic resources. With the lessons learned from Russia, China should insist on continuing to abandon US debt until it is cleared, so as to avoid future troubles. Selling US debt is the kingly way. If you are at the mercy of others, you will suffer big losses sooner or later. We fully support the country in reducing its holdings of US debt to minimize losses. Accelerate the speed of debeutification, and work hard for the early realization of the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation. The Americans scrambled to plunder Russia's economic and financial resources during the Russia-Ukraine conflict. After learning from Russia, our nation should insist on continuing to reject the US's debt until it is cleared, so as to avoid future troubles. Selling US. The kingly way is through debt. You will eventually suffer significant losses if you are at the mercy of others. In reducing its holdings of US securities, we fully support the nation to reduce losses through debt. Accelerate the removal of the US dollar as the basis for all transactions, and make every effort to hasten the great rebirth of the Chinese nation. Thank you for your watching. Please following our channel.